Good morning, everybody. Kat here. Welcome to my channel. It is Thursday morning, and this is the first full day that we are digesting all the information from the first batch of the Epstein papers being made public. There's over 100 names of celebrities, VIPs, elites, political leaders, business leaders, Stephen Hawking, Miley Cyrus, Michael Jackson, and the list goes on. All of these people had one thing in common. They had some kind of a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, here's the thing that you have to understand. There's a couple basic principles that you have to understand, get your head around, to realize what's going on. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. You think Jeffrey Epstein is the only one that ran, a ring of little girls for the entertainment of a lot of sick people? It was a blackmail operation. He had those participants by the short and curlies once they accepted his offers years ago. I mean, you talk about Bill and Hillary Clinton being on the plane and all of the years ago. There was going around online speculation that there had been videos as well of some very unsavory things going on, and that, these would have been used by Jeffrey as a blackmail thing. Now, you think, oh, that's pretty awful and that's pretty evil. But what would possess all these business leaders and political leaders and royalty to want to have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein? Well, this is the nut of the problem that is going to be the hardest thing to get your head around. Hope you're sitting down. What you have to understand, that among the elite, among the politicians, among the billionaires, among those that rule the world and rule finance and commerce and religion and royalty, they all have one thing in common. They have a particular predilection towards the abuse of small humans. Various types of abuse. You know what I'm saying? We don't, in a way, it's bad. Like on YouTube, we have to be so careful. You can't say exactly what you mean, and so therefore you hope that the impact of what you're saying doesn't get lost in translation. But we know what we're talking about. The key nut to all of this is that they're all involved. Conspiracy theory, you might say, but look, abuse cases within the churches for decades. What did they do? They just moved them around. All kinds of these allegations pop up constantly with political leaders, business leaders. Why is it? Why is it? Well, there's some things that you've got that. The P word, they're all involved. That is the fuel that runs the world. The energy taken by the abuser, like an energy vampire kind of thing. Read up on this. It's actually real. It's actually real. Read up what adrenochrome is, and you'll start to understand. There's fuel in that abuse for these honest to God demons, you listen to people like David Icke and you think the man's half crazy, But when you hear the same kind of stories with, people at different start out points end up coming to the same conclusion, doesn't mean he's right about everything, but I think he's right about this. The elites that rule the world are fueled by the energy and the adrenochrome of this type of abuse, and the overlords, as you might think of, the World Economic Forum, the World Bank, the WHO, all these non-governmental entities that seem to make all the rules. This is a common thread within them because they're very sinister, some would say demonic, and they know that this kind of energy fuels a particular, and it's such a deep rabbit hole, it's so hard to sit here and try to explain it to you. But that's it. Research that. Research adrenochrome. Come to your own conclusion, but it's worth looking into because we look at the events of today and we wonder, how the hell did this happen? How did we get here? Well, this is how. And that's why it's so deep. But anyway, so we know what fuels it all. We know where this all began. This Jeffrey Epstein and this cache of names and documents and whatever may come out about it is just the tip of the iceberg, folks. Jeffrey Epstein is one guy. And they're already in the press trying to downplay it. Well, he may have had, association, Prince Andrew, and he never saw anything untoward, even though he's paid millions of dollars to a woman that he claims he's never met to compensate for abuse he never performed on her. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. And as I've outlined for over a year, we understand how this particular web works. We know that Jeffrey Epstein, of course, as it's being confirmed now with this list, had associations with all kinds of powerful people, provided entertainments to all kinds of powerful people. We know that one of Jeffrey's business associates is a principal shareholder in Soho House, which, as I've outlined from the very beginning of this channel, is but one entity set up to provide these kind of entertainments to the rich and elite, private members club. And we know from what I've researched that Marcus Anderson, head of recruitment for membership at Soho House International, has deep connections with Meghan Markle, who we know was hired as a free agent by Soho House to be an entertainment provider. We know that Meghan Markle met Prince Andrew through Soho House. That's why she became so close to Beatrice and Eugenie right off the bat, because she had some leverage there. This bullshit about when she was meeting the Queen with Harry for the first time and didn't know how to curtsy. She'd been knee-deep with the royals for a couple of years before she met Harry. And this is just one little piece in this worldwide story of what's going on. So we can focus on this one piece and understand what's happening, but realize it's not an isolated incident. This kind of stuff goes on all the time. This is the common denominator of all of it. You want to talk about those who rule you? This is the common denominator. That's why things are so evil. But anyway, the whole Soho House, Prince Andrew, and what he's worried about. Of course, this is never going to go away for the royal family. It's never going to go away, and this is only going to widen the circle, and it's bad. But I would suggest that more than even Andrew, when this kind of information gets out there, Andrew's not the only one in the royal family that's been accused of having these kinds of predilections. Read up about Mountbatten, Viceroy of India, the Queen's cousin, great uncle to Prince Charles. There's a new book out. I can't remember. I think it's called The Mountbattens. I've seen interviews with the author in anyway, and there's been proof, because he spoke to a couple of them, that Mountbatten was bisexual. Mountbatten was a pedophile. Mountbatten was an abuser. And he had a lot of influence over Charles. Just saying. So that's where we're at. Lots of information coming out. The Epstein saga carries on each time. And this is like a slow drip feed, what you're getting in the press, really. And that's why the way they do this, even, I mean, in the press, they know they have to report it, but how do they report it in a way that it's just a tight little package? You look at that and go, oh my, that's terrible, but it's one little thing. They don't want you to realize that it's everywhere. That this is so prevalent. Even with these releases, they've got to try to contain the story. And that's going to be an interesting thing to see how the press actually handles this, how the palace handles this. We'll have to wait and see. More royal news. Prince Margrethe of Denmark has come out publicly, stated that she is going to be stepping down, abdicating near the end of January. She's been on the throne 60 some odd years, I think, 50 years, quite a long time. And no, her reign has not been without controversy. A year ago or so, she stripped the titles off a couple of her, I think, grandsons or nephews, that because she was the one, this is where you first heard, slimming down the monarchy. And those boys, at least one of them has gone on to be a fashion model in Europe, in Paris, I think. And recently, like, you know, she's putting it out, oh, I've been here long enough. It's time for me to step aside for my son, the Crown Prince. But you see here the scuttlebutt with the Crown Prince. His wife is Australian. Now, just recently, within the last couple of months, I think, he has been, and there's been pictures put out of him having a little something on the side with some socialite. And his Australian wife is not too thrilled about this and threatening to leave him, which would put the Danish monarchy in a bit of a fix with an elderly monarch and the crown prince marriage just, blowing apart. So what the scuttlebutt is that the queen is abdicating to kind of force her son on the throne, and like a consolation prize to her daughter-in-law, like, yeah, he screwed around, but you know what? You get to be queen. So shut up, put the crown on your head, and carry on. And this is what they think is going on. But what it has done, in and of itself, Queen of Denmark, it's not that real important to any of us. But what it has done on the international stage, and especially in the British news, is spark a debate over whether King Charles should resign, because of his age and everything, and it's time for the young blood. And we know that basically Charles is pretty much thought of as being a transitional monarch, bookending, in between the Queen and William, who represents the future of the monarchy. I've stated many times that I think he will be stepping aside in the fairly recent future. I think maybe within the next year. Now, I don't think it's any kind of influence of Queen Margrethe's decision. I think the reasons that the king will step aside, there's many. There's all kinds of scenarios. I've outlined them all. Lack of public support, lack of governmental support, more scandals brewing and being brought to the surface. This old Jeffrey Epstein cache of documents is just yet another thing. So, but yeah, the press is actually, talking about, news shows and stuff. Should the king resign? And when you have that kind of a climate amongst so much controversy and bad press, I may not be wrong. I don't think Charles has that much time left, maybe a year. Well, we have to wait and see what happens. Those are my thoughts and opinions on everything, and I know we got a little bit offside today, but it's kind of interesting, and I guarantee you, if you research a couple of those topics, you'll find out things you never thought. Just blow your mind. Blow your mind. Anyway, hope y'all have a great day. Hit that subscribe button. Share this video if you enjoyed it and you think the information is something your friends and family need to see. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a great day. Leave me a comment as well. I want to know what you're thinking about all of this. Absolutely. Take care, everybody.